longtime residents of the area. As a matter of fact, they came here in the late 50s. So I watched the area grow, I watched the area expand, I've watched houses be built, and my husband contributes to that market. But that's not why I'm here today. Last year, I was approached by a familiar name in Laughlin. Some of you know her, some may not. Debbie Downhauer. Albert went to Debbie and said, we'd like to bring this walk to the area. She goes, well, I'm a little bit busy, but Lisa Moss will help you. So when I got the call from Albert, I wasn't sure what to think just about it. And I thought, because my life had been affected by it greatly. So we met, and then I took the role on, not knowing what I had, not knowing really what to think or what was in store for me for this walk. I'd like to thank everybody that participated last year with the walk. We did have a great, successful walk last year. We raised about $8,000, and one of those, part of that was a $500 sponsorship, and the rest was raised by our walkers. We had about 300 walkers. That's $7,500 that was raised by our walkers, and I think that was incredible for just the first year. It was an obvious, it's obvious that it has affected more people in this community than just myself. I stated that my grandparents raised me. My grandma got Alzheimer's disease or dementia. She was always really strict with me, but I experienced, when she got Alzheimer's disease, I experienced the mean part of her. And that's not the part that anybody likes to see. My grandma became very, very, very violent, and she was mean. And it was sad, because my grandma was my mom. And to watch her go be a strong woman and a community leader, as she was in Bullhead, to watch her fall apart to nothing, it was absolutely devastating. I lost my grandma 2 years ago. My husband's grandmother, Grandma McGee, in Minnesota, she lived with Alzheimer's a little bit longer than my grandma did. And her circumstances were quite different, as every patient is different. Grandma waited for her husband to come to dinner every night. And Mike's dad would go and visit his mom every day at the old folks' home or the senior living facility. And his dad repeatedly had to listen to Grandma say, I'm waiting for Dad to come home for dinner. After a couple of years, she finally stopped saying that. Mike's dad is a tough old man, and he kept going every day to still see his mom. So finally she couldn't talk no more. She knew nobody. She didn't even know herself. The most interesting thing that I always kind of got a chuckle out of was every time Mike and I would go see Grandma, when we would go back to Minnesota, we'd always go visit with her. And she would always ask Mike, how's Florida? Mike would always say, Grandma, I just was in Florida for a couple months. But that seemed to stick to her. She thought her grandson lived in Florida. Good thing he didn't, because then we probably would have never met. The very last time I got to visit with Grandma was just before Michael and I got married. We got married in March, and we went to visit her in February. And she was so happy. She was so different. We thought, wow, she's getting better. Maybe she's going to live longer. I always talked to her, although walk is a fundraiser for research. There's research out there that's coming available soon to prolong the disease. So perhaps my children or my great-grandchildren it could help slow down the progression. I'm going to introduce a young man to the stage that's going to tell his story while he's going to walk. This family is a local family in Laughlin. If I talk anymore, I'll probably ruin my makeup a little bit more. I absolutely adore this family, and I think that Auntie Drescher has wings. I think she's an angel, along with her family. The Drescher family is here tonight, and Caitlin Drescher and Auntie Drescher are going to come up to the stage. They're going to tell us why they're going to walk. Sean Drescher and Taryn are also here with Granny. Welcome to the stage.
She has Alzheimer's, and I remember my grandma as a fierce ally and my best friend. If anyone messed with me, she would chew them out. She was a pistol in her day. She was never afraid to tell anyone how it was or what she thought. She loved babies, animals, and baseball. She was social, and she was elegant. And as a grandmother, she was always there when times were tough and when we needed shelter. She took many of us in during our lives until we could get on our feet. She was a force. Years went by and Grandma became Granny with the influx of the next generation. And she went to their games, dances, plays, and graduations, and they begged us to go over there and spend time with her. She gave them junk food, coffee, popsicles, whatever. She was a big kid. Then one day I received a call that Granny was in the emergency room, and she had broken her arm while living alone and would need to be taken care of for a few weeks. That's when the reality set in, and I noticed that she wasn't taking her medicine and couldn't remember if she had eaten. I didn't know how I was going to tell her. I didn't think that she should go home. And when I did approach the subject, she was relieved because she had been scared of going back alone. So that's when our journey began. At first it was little things, forgetting to eat, take her medication, confusion, and mood swings. Then some days it was like she was in fantasy world, living in the past and talking with the dogs. And she would get extremely violent, irritable, and depressed.